This is the Dull Man's Podcast, the podcast for dull men
and women
who get excited about dull things.
I'm Demitris Deech, an award-worthy stand-up comedian who really likes to talk about the dull things which gets him excited to anyone who's prepared to listen.
I'm Sarah Steele, I'm an author, and I kind of specialise in nerdy research, so yeah, I can be as dull as the next man.
I'd like to endorse that view.
How generous of you.
Dave.
Yeah, I'm Dave Harries, I'm the producer of the show, which sounds very important, but yeah, no, not really. And I am delighted that Sarah is able to join us for this second episode with you, which is great. Faye's temporarily unavailable, and Sarah is of admirable standing. We love having you on the podcast, Sarah.
I've loved being here.
Dave, we've actually had some people listening to our show. We've had reviews. Yeah. So Tommy Gunn in Australia, I sent him a link to listen to it. He replied, very dull. I said, thank you very much. He sent back sad face emoji. Another friend of mine, I said, have a listen to this show, have a listen to this podcast. And he said that was absolutely perfect for me. I listened to it on Sunday morning. I'd been out the night before, had quite a lot of beer and wine to drink. I didn't want anything which was going to be too taxing for my brain. It was perfect.
So that's two bits of feedback.
Two bits of feedback. Very dull and also ideal for a hangover.
Could be good for going to sleep, because I struggle to find a podcast to go to sleep to.
So, Dave, what is on today's show? What's on today's episode?
Well, Deech, very exciting as always. Incredible levels of dullness. I believe you are going to talk to us about paperclips.
Yeah, I'm taking dullness to the next level.
You really are. I mean, that's extraordinary. I can't wait, frankly. And I'm going to talk about moving boxes. I don't mean any old box. I mean the boxes that removal firms give you to pack and the tape that comes with them. I'm going to talk about that. And Sarah, I believe you are going to talk to us about stupid insects.
Stupid insects, yeah.
I can't wait. So, Deech, I'm very excited about this first section of the podcast because you're going to talk about paperclips, and that's got to be the dullest subject there is.
Well, I'd like to think so, although Sarah is challenging the dullness of that. It's getting her juices flowing. The reason we're talking about paperclips is I put this to the Dull Men's Club Facebook group, what can be talked about. In fact, somebody had put up that they wanted to talk about paperclips.
And paperclips have... Correct me if I'm wrong, because obviously you've no doubt researched this, but paperclips have got more interesting in the last 10 years because because instead of the old sort of standard silver paperclip that was the sort of de rigueur for years, you can now get them multicoloured.
Yeah, you've got plastic coated ones.
Yeah.
You
can get a little plastic pot with all the different colours in it.
Yeah.
Those pots can be magnetic as well.
I know. I mean, what's dull about that?
Well, we're going to try our hardest to make it, Del.
But the multicoloured thing, I mean, it harks back to our discussions in episode -3 about colour-coded bin lids.
Yes.
Anything that's colour-coded, it gets me excited.
Yeah.
I can't believe you didn't invite me on for that one.
I'm really sorry about that. But
we're going to bring bins up again. There's bins do come up.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that. And in fact, I'm looking around. We've all got a colour-coded microphone.
Of course, because I supply the microphones, and I have to have them colour-coded.
And
you've got the best colour, Dave.
Do you think so? Well,
yeah.
do you know, it's funny.
It's
funny that, isn't it? Yeah, it's true.
Dave's on red, I'm on green, you're on black by the looks of it. And also the leads coming off it are of matching colours.
Sort of, yeah. Your green doesn't quite match the
but it is green. I am green.
But you're right, you can tell how pedantic I am, the fact that it all matches.
These things matter.
I am anal about stuff.
And is that colour matched as well?
Or am I just an arsehole? It's one or the other.
You've been reading my emails. That's how I address him. Dear arsehole. The subject line, you're anal.
He always answers to it though, doesn't he?
He does.
You shout arsehole in any street and Dave will go, yep.
Doesn't always answer out his mouth, but you've got your coloured paper clips. Are you going to use those? So it's like red accounts, blue, sort of household chores. Do you think?
No, you see, that's the trouble. I mean, I love the coloured paperclip.
Yes.
I'm not nearly organised enough to actually make use of
You go ad hoc.
I do go ad hoc,
You go-
I'm afraid,
yeah.
I just sort of look in my little box of paper clips and I think, oh, that's a nice colour for today. And I pick out the red one and use it on whatever piece of paper I need. And, I often have photocopied I shouldn't say that, should I? Photocopied music. But sometimes
Reporting you.
Yeah, report me by all means. But the reason I photocopy it is that I don't want to damage the original. Because sometimes when you're playing in an orchestra, and you will be
Gets
able
out
to,
of hand.
You'll be able to
It gets
attest to this.
crazy.
You get music that's really old. So we did a thing in the orchestra that Sarah and I play in quite recently, where the music was like it was on parchment.
Oh, it
The
was.
actual
So-
manuscript.
Yeah, the
That's what
manuscript that you're reading off, it was so
Oh, wow.
crumbled. I mean, and the horn parts, anyway, were terrible.
Yeah.
So I photocopied them in order that I could
Is a
handle them
Is a preservation thing.
without knackering.
But you're allowed to photocopy for your own purposes, I would
You are for
assume.
private use
yeah,
only.
and absolutely.
Oh, you're an author, aren't you? There we go. Oh, you know on your phone. I've got a photocopy book of Sarah's.
I have the rules
So,
and
yeah,
regulations in my
Yeah,
hand.
I made 100 copies and sold it down the market.
Yeah. That's right. All bound together with a paperclip.
Yeah, exactly. But different colours.
See?
Yeah. Now, what is standard around the world when you're applying a paperclip? It's always top left, isn't it?
Yes.
No one ever goes row, goes middle.
Well,
Yeah,
or
but-
top
you say
right.
that, but what about
But
in
if you're-
Japan?
Well, yeah. Or what about if
Do-
you're
ah!
reading from left to? It's because you're turning the right-hand side of the page.
Yeah.
But if it's somewhere in the world
you
where they read the opposite
Yeah, but
direction,
you could if you had a paperclip top right, you'd still be able to function.
Yeah, but it wouldn't seem natural, would it?
It would seem unnatural.
It'd be like going
That's-
around the supermarket in the wrong direction.
walking backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get really annoyed with me in the supermarket when I do that.
Gosh, you bang the back of your ankles on people's trousers.
Yeah.
You've knocked over the pile of beans tins again because you walked into it backwards.
Arsehole.
Quite.
Now, so here's a question, okay? Why do you think that because of paper clips, you could have ended up arrested in Norway during the war, World War II?
Arrested by the occupying army?
Correct.
Right. So paperclips were, for some reason, indicated that you were a spy or something? I don't know.
Sarah, would you like to have a...
Yeah, you've done a lot of World War II
I
research
should
for your
know
books.
this. I'm
Yeah.
just wondering if we can use a couple to
Unpick your
activate
prison
a
cell.
crystal or something.
Because
you can definitely do
Bourne
that.
and his like
Oh,
always
yeah.
unpick their the cufflinks.
Yeah, when
Sorry.
when
Let's start that one again. Jason Bourne and their ilk always unpick their handcuffs with a paperclip.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they,
Yeah, oh, what-
they steal a paperclip from the nurse because they're in hospital because they're
Yeah.
injured, and they unpick it and they escape.
Yeah. Well, when the zombie apocalypse comes, then we will all need paper clips. It will be the survival tool of choice.
Yeah.
This is the reason you're on the right lines, maybe. So, during World War II, Norwegians were prohibited from wearing any buttons, on their shirt or blazer, with the likeness or the initials of their king on them. In protest, the Norwegians started wearing paper clips because paper clips were a Norwegian invention. This was a protest against the Nazi occupation, and wearing a paper clip could have often got them arrested.
I think there's a book in there for you, Sarah.
There is, yeah. I mean, I've done a
The
book
Norwegian
on
paperclip
Yeah,
revolution.
that's very Norway. Yeah, do have the paper clip.
I've had a thing in one of my books where
And
the
now
French,
in a Norwegian accent.
yeah, the French used to use little metro tickets and fold them into a shape of a V and leave them on the floor
Oh, really? And that was their symbol of
during the
resistance.
occupation. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's not a dull fact. I'm sorry.
No.
You might need to edit
Well,
that.
it's fairly
Yeah, it's really, really interesting.
So let's give him a good nod and a shout out. The inventor of the paperclip, Johan Vahler, a Norwegian inventor with degrees in electronics, science, and mathematics, invented the paperclip in 1899.
I think at this point I must mention
Yes,
one of the downsides of the paperclip world.
the paperclip world.
And that is that about, 15, 20 years ago, Microsoft Office, which we were all using by that, well, many of us were using by that time, had a sort of little help thing, a little animated help thing that was in the shape of a paperclip. And I think it was called Clippy.
Oh, I hated that prick.
And, well...
He wasn't that fond
Good.
of you, apparently.
No, that's right. He was always going on about
It's
Deech.
still got
wasn't he?
beef, yeah.
But anyway, a Clippy would sort of turn up randomly. You know,
Yeah.
you'd open a document.
Who invited
you'd
him?
start typing a letter or something like that, and Clippy would appear as if by magic.
I think you're writing a letter.
Yeah, exactly. And it was so annoying. And, I suppose perhaps some people found it helpful, but I don't think Clippy lasted that long.
No,
so I'm guessing
he was
the feedback.
widely hated.
Yeah, you think the feedback wasn't good?
No, it wasn't. Well, it was the best thing for Apple Mac ever, wasn't it? Because I think that was, hey, buy an Apple Mac, you don't get this Clippy tosspot.
But you could run Office on an Apple Mac. I
that was later, though.
Was it?
They had their Apple Mac had their own version of the spreadsheets and all of that, but because it didn't tie in with the others, then they had to eventually say, okay, because Apple famously have their own bits and pieces, don't
Famously irritating.
Famously, yeah. If I could bring us back to paper clips, if that's okay.
Well, we have to. Yeah.
We do have to.
Sarah,
it's in the contract.
should we go back to paper
Yeah,
clips?
I love paper clips. They are the most perfect, simple design. I mean, just one piece of metal folded in a certain way, and it's a game changer.
It is. Oh, it is a game changer. Do you know the name of that design of the paperclip that we have today?
It has a name?
Feeling you're going to tell us.
The history of paperclips. Here we go.
Settle down.
So it was a company called the Gem Manufacturing Limited of England that first designed the oval-shaped standard paperclip. This familiar and famous paperclip was and still is referred to as the Gem Clip. Your lovely design is called the Gem Clip.
The Gem Clip?
Yeah.
Are there other types?
Yeah, let me sort of read on. William Middlebrook of Waterbury, Connecticut, patented a machine for making paper clips of the Gem design in 1899. The Gem paperclip was never patented.
So we could just go and make our own.
Make your own. Yeah.
You could.
That'd be a great hobby, wouldn't it? What do you do in your spare time? Oh, I make paper clips.
They're hard to come by. I make my own.
That's right, yeah.
And I make them in lots of different colours.
People have been reinvented the paperclip over and over again. The designs that have been most successful are the Gem, with its double oval shaped, the non-skid, which held in place, the owl paperclip that does not get tangled up with other paperclips, which is a problem, isn't it? When you have a bundle of paperclips.
Yeah.
But actually, it's interesting you mentioned the owl paperclip, because that reminds me that now you can get paperclips in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. Not only different colours. I'd completely forgotten this. I was given a little box of paperclips by a company that I was visiting ages ago.
And they handed you your notice.
And
the reason he had his notice is because of the paperclips.
It was my retirement gift. Box of paperclips. And anyway, these paperclips they weren't the Gem design. They were designed like little aeroplanes.
Oh, wonderful!
Yeah, and because this company were into aeroplanes, I think they didn't make or produce aeroplanes. They were a marketing company, but their owner was a pilot. He loved flying, so he had these paperclips made that were the shape of aeroplanes. They were really sweet.
Can you just send off to the paperclip making company and say, I would like paperclips in the shape of...
I think you
anything
can just
is
go
possible
on
with
Google
enough money
and say customised paperclips.
Yeah.
What would you choose?
Oh, that's a very good
I'd have
question.
my insignia.
Would you?
Yeah.
What's your insignia?
I haven't designed it yet.
Yeah.
No, listen, I'm a dull man, so I just go standard Gem, double oval. Yeah. That's what I would do.
I'd go for Dave's face.
Well, people have tried that before, but it's very difficult to recreate. It's so unique.
You get these big, giant plastic paper clips, don't you?
Jumbo.
The jumbo paperclip.
Yes, I've never quite seen the point of those.
It's a bit arrogant.
Well, it depends if you've got a lot.
Yeah, but they snap. They can snap.
A big wad.
They're not strong. They look great.
Have you stress tested them?
Yeah, I've snapped them.
Well, how many sheets can you get in before they stop functioning?
How many sheets?
Sheets of paper.
Oh, right, good. I don't know. I can't remember each, but quite a few, I'm sure. But the point is that a standard paperclip is almost indestructible. I mean, you can bend it out of shape, obviously, if you choose to. But those plastic ones, I think you can actually snap them by accident.
Accidents do happen.
I think your frustration this week is it stupid insects?
It's stupid insects, yeah. One type of stupid insect in particular. So it's that time of year where you have the windows open and you're sitting at home trying to work and the blue bottle gets in and it kind of buzzes around you and it's at that frequency that you just can't quite ignore. So you're trying to work and this thing is going... And in the room where I work, I have 3 windows, the middle of which opens. So I will open the middle window to let the blue bottle out. So it just headbutts the windows on either side of the open window for about 10 minutes. So I have to shut the curtains to try and encourage it out of the open window, and it still can't.
And this is on your time, isn't it?
This is my time. I am not being paid to
deal
with
blue bottles. You're babysitting blue bottles now.
Yeah, for God's
You're trying to escort them out you're like a bouncer, which at the end of the night is trying to get drunken punters out of the nightclub, out of the pub.
Because they are a bit pissed, aren't they? They just kind of bumble around and crash into things.
And I always think, why can I not reason with this insect? And say, listen, mate, the alternative is I get the SWAT out.
Yeah.
And then it's curtains, frankly.
Yeah.
I'm giving you a good chance.
I've opened the window.
Yep.
For God's sake, use it.
Come and fight me like a man, you bastard.
Yeah.
And it's, I completely agree with you about that, Sarah. I get absolutely furious with flies, quite out of proportion to the actual amount of annoyance they cause.
Or if you go to sleep at night and then one gets in, and you know you're not going to be able to sleep, so the light goes on and you're chasing around the bedroom.
We don't irritate them.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
Mosquitoes are the worst, though, at night. Because if you get a little mosquito,
that low little hum, and you
cannot sleep. This completely will deprive you of sleep. You've got to put the light on and find it.
Yeah,
absolutely. I hate that. And the other thing is this business of treating them humanely. For some reason, I am more sympathetic towards sort of bees and wasps actually as well. I know a lot of people don't like wasps, but bees and wasps I will try and trap in a glass if they're sleepy enough.
Yeah.
And put a piece of card over it and take them outside and release them.
Oh, I thought you were just going to leave it there as a sort of like a warning to anyone else trying to enter.
No, I'm talking about being humane.
Look what's happened to us.
I let them into the wild.
Set out a signal. If you threaten a wasp, it'll send out a signal to all the other wasps that then come and get you.
They're on an app. They're on like a WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
They've got a little radio. Gotta go wasps. Gotta go wasps.
Facebook group. Being attacked. Quick.
Yeah.
Dave, bring the lads down.
But flies, I partly because it's much harder to catch a fly for some reason. But
even though they're drunk.
Yeah, even though they're drunk. But I'm much less sympathetic to flies, and I'm afraid I do resort to the SWAT sometimes.
Yeah. And they have really bad habits. You don't want them in the house.
What sort of bad habits? They drink late at night and that sort of thing? They go clubbing and that sort of stuff?
Never put the toilet seat back down.
That's just the male ones.
Yeah, exactly. So what's your solution? I mean, have you got a solution, or is it just an eternal frustration?
It's an eternal. It's one of those frustrations that we'll never be able to solve.
Other than by locking yourself in a hermetically sealed room.
I know, but one needs some fresh air in the summer. And the buggers can get through the tiniest bit. So this is the irony. They'll get in through a tiny gap.
Yeah.
Leave them the door open and they'll
ignore it.
And
what is it that brings them in the first place, I wonder? Because, outside you'd think, the world is your oyster, it's a sunny day.
Aren't they just having a look?
They're just having a laugh.
Aren't they just going around?
Curious.
Yeah, if you're walking past the house and the door's open, you pop in, don't you, and have a look?
Well, not usually, no. Random house. Oh, I think I'll go and have a look at this house.
They obviously want me to come in.
Until the owner opens a window.
And then you leap out of the window.
Except you don't, because you can't work out how to get out.
The amount of houses I get chased around by a
SWAT.
woman with a SWAT wearing a dressing gown.
And you're banging into the window panes. Oh dear, you have the brain of an insect.
I natter on.
Oh, nice. See what you did there. Okay, so we're going to move to Dave now, who has a spectacularly dull subject to discuss with us here. So, Dave, please do tell us.
It is spectacularly dull because effectively it's cardboard boxes.
Wow.
That's what I want to talk about.
I'd already forgotten. I know you introduced it at the start of the show.
Yeah, it's so dull you forgot.
Yeah, I was like, oh, haven't we finished yet? Oh no, we're carrying on for another 10 minutes.
Well, can I just clarify? not just any cardboard boxes, dull though that would be, but these are specific cardboard boxes that are supplied to you by removal companies. So, when you're moving house and you think, I'll get a removal company to actually shift everything, but I'm far too mean to pay them to do the packing. So they supply you with boxes, empty boxes. They're usually flat packed, and they tell you how to assemble them, and you've got to tape them up with this special tape, and then you put your books in, or your hi-fi, or whatever it is you're transporting on your kitchenware, and wrap it carefully in paper, seal the box shut with this tape, and then it gets carried out to the van by the hired help. And my thing is that the tape they use is so bloody difficult to get off at the other end.
But you're not meant to get it off. So last time I moved
You're not meant to get it off. Well, how'd you get in the box?
No. I got into massive...
Sarah's living in a world of boxes.
I am here.
You've never unpacked since your last move.
The boxes?
That was 20 years ago.
I heard you're not supposed to get it off. When it says on the box, do not open.
Exactly. No, the thing is, I got really told off by my removal men last time because they brought the boxes and I started ripping at the tape. They went, no, you're going to ruin the boxes. And they gave me a knife you have to carefully slit through the tape.
Oh, is that the secret? So you need your Stanley knife or your pen knife.
You're just an amateur.
I am an amateur, and I was helping my sister move
and
the other day.
don't blame the tape, because it's not the tape's fault.
Well, I suppose you're right, but I think it's
serving a purpose. Where would you be without the boxes and the tape moving house?
You've got to have the boxes. You've got to have the tape.
There's a lot of IKEA bags.
Can I ask, Dave, when you are breaking down a box for your recycling, and I know you're a man of recycling, do you struggle with that? What's your format of decompressing? Would that be the right word? A box, so it's re-flat packed going to the
compressing.
recycling.
I think
compressing.
I think decompressing would be blowing it up.
Compressing a box.
Well, my technique there is whatever I've got to hand. If there's a knife to hand,
you weaponise yourself.
Well, only if there's one to hand, because I can't, because I'm too lazy to go and actually find a knife.
Don't you just jump on it? But I can imagine you just jumping on the boxes.
In
an angry fashion.
No, I will rip the tape off. And if it's a box for recycling, even the removal firms can't complain about that. But the trouble is you rip the tape off and it does take a lot of the cardboard with it very often. And so you get a layer of cardboard removed with the tape. And I suppose technically that's not good from a recycling point of view because it means you are chucking away some of the cardboard with the tape. And I can see now that you've mentioned it, Sarah, why the removal firm would get so cross, because if you ripped off enough of this tape and resealed the box for the next mover and then ripped that off, you'd end up with no box fairly quickly. And I can see that the removal firm want you to, because they're so keen that you recycle the boxes because it saves them money, that they will come and collect the boxes weeks after the move.
Oh, is that right?
They say if you flat pack the boxes and they're all reasonably undamaged, we will come and collect them for free.
Which, when you think about it, will save you a lot of hassle because there's going to be a massive amount of boxes, and that's a lot of cardboard to shift.
Well, as I was saying before I was interrupted, I was helping my sister move the other day, and this is what this all came to the fore because I was unpacking, I was opening boxes at her new house, and I didn't have, there was like one knife between, there was like 4 or 5 of us unpacking,
in the box.
Friends and things, unpacking and family, and there was only one knife in the house because obviously all the knives were packed in one of these boxes. So there was no alternative really, unless you all waited to pass the knife around from different rooms and things like that. It was ripping the tape off. And so I've probably got my sister into a lot of trouble because she'll hand back these boxes in a few weeks' time, and they'll say, "What the hell is this?"
They've been sabotaged.
They've been shredded by some vandal, and that vandal
box genocide
was me. Yeah. So I think it's an interesting subject. Cardboard boxes are obviously dull subjects anyway, but the specifics of moving boxes, I think, are worthy of lots of discussion. And is there a solution? Yes.
Well, I became a master of breaking down a box to decompress a box because I used to work for
compressing. We've established
compressing a box because I used to work for a supermarket where I used to stack the shelves. Then you'd have your box, and then those had to be broken down to then get squashed by a big sort of squashing machine, and then you wrap up the bundle like a hay bale. So you had to break them down really well, and you had to save time. So you end up becoming really good on how to break down a box.
And can you describe the technique to us?
Well, you've got to do
without sending us to sleep.
Yeah, well, that's the bit I cannot promise. But it's one of those things that you can only learn by doing. But what you do have to find is the sweet spot to press near the packaging tape, where the tape pulls away humanely from the box, but stays sort of just adhered to it, so it doesn't tear it apart.
Yeah.
And then you then very delicately take the tape away.
Oh, okay. All right, I like that. And I was thinking that this is sort of related in a way to a subject that we discussed in a previous podcast about gifts, about dull gifts.
Yes.
Because I was thinking about, some people like to save the wrapping paper. So you've got your gift on, particularly at Christmas when there's a lot of gifts around.
Yeah.
And you see there's always somebody in the room who's very, very carefully peeling back the tape.
Yes.
To avoid ripping the paper.
Yes.
And they open the paper, and by the time they've opened it, it's as it was when it came from the shop. Yeah,
It's quite expensive though, wrapping paper.
Yeah.
But I still rip it off.
And actually, we should be reusing, recycling.
Well, I do recycle it, but it's not in a very good state by the time it reaches the recycle.
Well, I'm guessing that from your attacking of the moving boxes.
Yeah. But I wanted to. You mentioned a gift, Sarah, because I know this is harking back to a previous episode when we talked about dull gifts, but you mentioned a gift to me the other day, which I think, frankly, is more than worthy of an entry in the Pantheon.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I wasn't on this episode because my dull gift is of epic proportions. So
paint a picture for us.
Paint a picture. So 20 years ago, I got divorced, and my mum came over to my new house. I got my kids there. She said, "Oh, I've got you a housewarming present."
Uh-huh.
This is sounding quite promising. I said, "Oh, thanks, Mum." Opened it, and it was one of those eat your supper in front of the television trays with a beanbag underneath, just in case you spill your soup. She said, "Well, you won't be needing to eat at the table now. You're on your own, will you?" I got you this.
Oh my God, that's well, there's a.
How did you feel? You felt very single at that point.
I felt
It's just you and
very
your
single.
beanbag.
It was a bleak moment.
Did you,
I have to say,
burst
delivered.
into tears?
I think I had to resist kind of smacking her over the
I-
head
really?
with the wrong side of the beanbag.
But I've met your
tray.
mum. She doesn't seem like the sort to sort of purposely make you feel bad.
No. This is the thing about parents who care. They can just accidentally crush you with kindness. She thought she was being kind.
It was a genuine.
The sentiment was there.
The sentiment was there. The thought, not
so. Really, she should have bought you a new table and said, "This is for when you establish yourself with
or
your
a
new person."
Bumble subscription or something.
Yeah, there we go. You're on Match.com for the next 8 years.
At the risk of
It'll
rubbing
take you longer, but
at the risk of rubbing
get
salt in the
started.
wound, Sarah, I feel I have to ask: have you ever used it?
Do you know what? No.
No, really?
I took it to the charity shop.
Oh, right, it's gone.
For another singleton.
Yeah, for another singleton. Yeah.
Ideal for the newly divorced.
Yeah.
But it's a shame because I've seen those and I've used one at a friend's house. And
Did you get it?
molds.
Did it come from the charity shop?
I
Did it have a thank you card from my mum?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, to my
Dear
mum on it.
Sarah. Yeah. Dear Sarah. But it molds to your thighs.
I know.
Ooh.
And you can get the perfect horizontalness.
You can eat soup.
You can eat soup off it. You can
Yeah.
put as much gravy as you blinking well like on your roast dinner.
But
Yeah.
it has to be said that you can do all of that with a normal tray, without a
Not to the
beanbag.
same
No,
degree.
you have to then get colour coded packers at a mil difference of each on your thighs to make sure that, and the spirit level.
Can I just say that I always refer to those as shims. Those little slivers that you
they're
put in to
shims.
level things.
Shim.
Shims.
Is that a Dave word or a real word?
It's a word I inherited from my dad.
Okay.
And he'd always talk about, you'd build a wardrobe or something. He said, "Oh, we'll need a shim to make it level." And he'd get a really thin piece of wood that he'd properly prepared, because he was quite good. My dad, he was good with his hands, and he would
As all dads are.
As all dads are, exactly. And he'd put it under one of the legs, a little shim, and the wardrobe wouldn't wobble.
Right.
It was perfect. So that I know. I don't know whether anybody else uses that term.
I think it's slang, but it's slang which has come from somewhere. But you can buy these.
Well,
things.
is it slang? You might find it's the technical term.
Yeah, that's what
that
it is.
we just
sort of
don't
slang
use
that's
anymore.
come from, well, it could be. But yeah, you get colour-coded packers now, don't you? They're sort of plastic things which are used in building trade.
They're not really what you think about when you're wanting to have your dinner in front of Love Island.
Yeah.
Are they?
Well,
Frankly.
No, you put your tray on your knee and then you pack
Spirit level.
and the shims underneath.
Yeah.
The other thing about the beanbag idea is it raises the height. And frankly, your knees are, if you're sitting on the sofa with a normal tray, with your soup and your glass of water, it's too low.
There's a risk of dribbling, isn't there?
There is. So I think the beanbag raises it a couple of inches, and I think that could be critical.
Why,
So the beanbag
why
raises
did I
the
get
game.
rid of it?
Yeah, why didn't you keep it, Sarah?
I'm going to go
You want to go back, buy your own it's still there. Imagine if it's still there as well. You go, I remember you. Oh, didn't work out then. Second time round.
You need your beanbag back,
I
do you?
got it back.
The tray of tragedy.
They always come back for their beanbag. They always come in full of hope and promise, giving their beanbag tray, and they always come crawling back, always asking for a discount because they're the ones that gave it away in the first place. There they are, and there'll be a whole rack of beanbag trays. You can choose whichever one you want.
Really, you should take them to the pawn shop. PAWN.
That's a specialist
Usually they've got a
one.
picture of a cat
Let me
on
rephrase that. The pawn broker.
Okay.
Because I believe that you then get some money for it.
That's true.
And then you pay a little bit more money if you want it back.
But then you're sending it to the pawnbroker with the assumption that you might have to get it back, and that's not really the spirit with which to start one's single life.
Yes, that's true. The charity shop is more positive, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It can go.
It's
it can be gone. Be gone, beanbag tray.
Yeah.
I do not need
cash
you in my
converters.
life.
Yeah.
I will have somebody to share a meal with before you know it.
I'll be eating at the table again by the end of the year.
Well, very sadly, we have reached the end of another episode. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being here again for us. I've been Dave Harries, producer of this show.
I've been Demitris Deech. Thanks for having us on the Dollman's podcast.
And I've been Sarah Steele, who's had a ball.
Follow us on whatever podcast site you subscribe to and never miss an episode.
Self-flagellation.
Yeah. Maybe something like that.
They have to do that.
They have to. It's in the contract.
they store
At
the
least
bodies.
once a week.
I wanted to be a nun for exactly that reason.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't qualify. I'm not sure why not.
You've got the wrong habit.